GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation designed to empower individuals and enable them to have better control of their personal data. It represents a transition from the 1995 Data Protection Directive and replaces all other EU national data protection legislations. It will be applied uniformly to all state members starting from the 25th of May, 2018. GDPR defines privacy obligations and reinforces sanctions. Its key innovations are accountability. Companies have to deliver written compliance plans to regulators on demand. Territorial scope. GDPR applies to all companies that process the personal data of EU citizens. Privacy impact assessments, which must be conducted when undertaking large-scale personal data processing. Explicit consent. Consumers have to give consent for data processing which can easily be withdrawn. Exclusive rights. These include the right to be forgotten, data portability, and the right to object to profiling. Privacy by design. This means that protection is designed with the development of business processes and systems. Breach notification within 72 hours. Breaches must be reported without undue delay. Data masking. This involves the pseudonymization and anonymization of the personal data. Mandatory data protection officers. Their tasks are informing and advising the organization of the data protection obligations, ensuring compliance, and serving as a contact point to the supervisory authority and data subjects. Fines. The increased penalties in case of a breach of the GDPR amounts to 4% of the total annual worldwide turnover, or 20 million euros. GDPR expands the definition of personal data to reflect the complexity of the digital age. It is any information that identifies a person directly or indirectly, such as a name or identification number. It can also relate to the physical, health, genetic, economic, or social identity of an individual, including license plate numbers and browsing history. The replacement of the current EU directive by GDPR is a significant step and a turning point for data protection. This will bring stricter and more focused guidelines for all companies to follow. More than 2/3 of British businesses cannot secure customer data effectively, which is a key principle of the EU's incoming General Data Protection Regulation. The European Commission stated in February 2018 that, to date, Germany and Austria are the only member states who have passed all the necessary legislation. Rowley's opinion is that GDPR is the wake-up call that companies needed. He is a true believer that GDPR can take organizations to great lengths if they are prepared, whereby data is being offered freely and voluntarily by individuals, which leads to trust in a business. The survey also shows less than 35% have set up an internal GDPR task force. Only 1/3 are hiring a third party to conduct a GDPR gap analysis, and roughly only 1/3 are hiring a third-party consultant to assist with compliance. Among many of the industries that will be affected is the insurance industry because they process large amounts of personal identifiable information. These are the areas of GDPR that will impact insurance companies the most. Consent impacts insurance companies in these 4 major areas. Claims, pricing, and marketing all use data analytics in their strategies, and underwriting sometimes uses data that is not traditionally collected for insurance purposes. If consumers are unwilling to give consent to these practices, insurance companies will have to change the way they do their business. The right to be forgotten will also have major impacts on insurance companies. Legal obligations may require companies to retain customer information after they have left. Under GDPR, the company will have to set out clear written reasons for retaining the data, which will be an onerous process. Guaranteed portability will not only require the restructuring of data, it will also require them to send information directly to competitors if requested. GDPR is more than just a challenge for insurance companies. It also presents an opportunity through the increased demand for cyber insurance. The HIPAA privacy rule is an extremely strict data protection regulation and is similar to GDPR in the following ways: the conditioning rule, separation of presentation, rights of revocation and withdrawal, marketing, and the right of rectification. However, the 2 regulations differ in the following way: the right to be forgotten. Under GDPR, data controllers must establish electronic modalities that allow the right of erasure of personal data. The HIPAA privacy rule does not have this requirement. Companies in the United States that will be most affected include U.S.-based hospitality, e-commerce organizations, and software companies, all of whom will have to reevaluate their marketing activities online.